the next leg of Joe Biden's trip in the Middle East is he went to Saudi Arabia. And we knew that this meeting was coming for a long time, right? And the problem here, once again, when I say problem, it's like I can just picture the people in the White House and the State Department like, oh no, we have to pretend to care. The problem here is that Saudi Arabia is a country that Joe Biden said he's going to make a pariah. Right? He said he's going to punish them. He's going to do this and that. And, they killed a Washington Post journalist who was a U.S. resident and obviously working for a U.S. paper. And, the whole world knows that Saudi Arabia did it. Actually, the U.S. government, the CIA knows that they did it. And so this is Joe Biden before he got elected. Take a look at what he was saying.
The CIA has concluded that the leader of Saudi Arabia directed the murder of U.S.-based journalist Jamal Khashoggi. The State Department also says the Saudi government is responsible for executing nonviolent offenders and for torture. President Trump has not punished senior Saudi leaders. Would you?
Yes, and I said it at the time. Khashoggi was, in fact, murdered and dismembered, and I believe in the order of the Crown Prince. And I would make it very clear, we were not going to, in fact, sell more weapons to them. We were going to, in fact, make them pay the price and make them, in fact, the pariah that they are. There's very little social redeeming value in the present government in Saudi Arabia. And
wow, that's quite strong, honestly. That's very strong. I'm not joking.
In the present government in Saudi Arabia. And I would also, as pointed out.
So you see here that he's a hypocrite because, Joe Biden is saying, oh, I'm going to make them a pariah. There's nothing redeeming about them. And then what happens? He goes to Saudi Arabia and he does this. Oh, God. Horrible. I mean, this is really bad. It's honestly a meme. I think this is an excellent meme format, if I may say so. But the whole thing is that, his aides and his team were, wondering and thinking, well, how do you act when you meet Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince? Do you shake his hand? Do you, salute? Do you raise your hand? Do you just do nothing because of COVID? No. Fist bump. Like, hey, it's my old friend. What's up? How you doing? You chop up any journalists lately? 1 month ago, this is on June 17th, they're asking Biden, are you going to meet with the crown prince, with Mohammed bin Salman? What do you think Joe Biden said?
The same way I've been handling it. I'm not going to meet with MBS. I'm going to an international meeting. And he's going to be part of it, just like there were people part of the discussion today.
Right, so that's how they've been phrasing it, right? It's an international meeting, and so they got all these Arabs together, these other Arab leaders, and they put on a facade. But Biden needed to meet with them, okay? And I want to tell you one thing, which is very interesting. Do you know how Biden went there? How he went to Saudi Arabia? He actually flew directly from Israel to Saudi Arabia. And the trick here, let me explain the trick to you. The trick is that the Saudis opened airspace to all carriers, right? Because they don't want to come out and say, we're going to let Israeli planes come into our airspace. No, they say, we're opening our airspace to all carriers. So from any country. Okay, so this was very timely, done in a very timely manner on July 15th, just before the visit. How practical. Okay, and this is very important because a lot of people overlook this aspect of Biden's visit. They think it was just about oil. I'll get to that in a moment. This is very important because what they're trying to do is get Saudi Arabia to normalize ties with Israel the same way Trump did it with the Abraham Accords, right? With Bahrain, UAE, and so on. And that's coming. Biden definitely wants to get Saudi Arabia normalizing ties with the Israelis. And this picture of them, doing the fist bump, I mean, this went viral. This is so bad. And it's ironic because the Saudis couldn't wait to publish this. They couldn't wait to do this because this is so good for them, right? Like, he ordered the assassination of a journalist and got him chopped up with a hacksaw. He needs to, MBS, right? He needs to rehabilitate his image. And the president of the United States just landed and gave him a fist bump. Speaking of landing, when Joe Biden landed at the airport, do you know who came to greet him? No one really. Man, usually when the president of the United States shows up at your door, this is not, no matter what you think of the U.S., this is not just some random, some random bozo. It's the president of the United States. And they sent a princess and the governor of the Mecca province. They didn't send the king, and they didn't send Mohammed bin Salman. That is very disrespectful. I know some people might look at that and think, yeah, well, who cares? No, this is, it's another form of body language, or non-body language, shall we say. Okay? You have to understand these signs. It's very important. Here's a moment when the press were allowed in, and they started suddenly shouting at Biden and MBS, like, did you guys do anything about the journalists that you chopped into pieces, Jamal Khashoggi? Is there an apology? Is there anything? Take a look. I think it was someone from the Washington Post.
Thank you. Jamal Khashoggi, will you apologize to his family, sir?
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. President Biden, is Saudi Arabia still pariah? President Biden. No,
Right, so Jamal Khashoggi, will you apologize to his family? Nothing. Here's something funny, because Biden's team are claiming that in private, when Biden was with MBS, he raised the issue. And then a Saudi minister came out and said, no, that's not true. We never talked about that. God, that's so embarrassing. Here's a U.S. journalist who was, part of the team with them. Look what she said about the visit.
Again tomorrow, when other Gulf leaders are here in Jeddah, and then the conflict in Yemen, the administration would like the truce to be extended. Human rights, as you mentioned, is a big thing. The president has not committed to raising the Khashoggi murder directly with the Crown Prince in his meeting. He was asked that publicly yesterday and didn't make a commitment. So,
see, there you go. So he refused to raise it, and here's the response from Khashoggi, as they say in English. Let's just say Khashoggi then, so there's no confusion. Khashoggi's fiancée, who he was set to marry, this is what she tweeted about Biden's behavior. Okay, her name is Hatis. Okay, and she says this is what Jamal Khashoggi would tweet today. Hey, President of the United States, is this the accountability you promised for my murder? The blood of MBS's next victim is on your hands. And for those of you, just to give you background information, Khashoggi is, he was not only a very prominent columnist at the Washington Post, he was a dissident, right? So he had a falling out with the Saudi establishment. He became very critical of them. He left Saudi Arabia. And then when he went to pick up his passport, I believe, in the Saudi consulate in Turkey, that's when they got him. They hacked his phone, they traced his location, and they murdered him in a very brutal way. Here's what we have so far. We know that Joe Biden did not raise Jamal Khashoggi with MBS, so he lied about, we're going to make Saudi Arabia pariah, I'm going to hold them accountable, this and that, blah, blah, blah. Very good. What politician actually tells the truth when they're making campaign promises or afterward? So we know that. Now, why did Joe Biden come to Saudi Arabia then? What's the point of his visit? He dressed it up as an international thing, right? They got some other Arab countries to participate and conveniently, placed it in Jeddah. But what is the real point of his visit? It's oil. It's oil. Again, this is politics 101. The United States, since that infamous deal in 45 on the USS Quincy, the Saudis made a deal with the Americans. You guys give us security, military equipment, so on, and we give you oil. That is the deal. It's a very simple deal, and it has many dimensions. And right now, Biden needs oil. He needs a lot of oil. Why? Because the war in Ukraine has sent gas and oil prices soaring. Here's from the U.S. government. This is from their own stats. This is from the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Look at the price. Look at spike in gasoline prices in dollars per gallon. And where does this begin? Well, right there. It's, after the war starts, after the war in Ukraine starts. And it's gone down a little bit recently, but it's still up. It's very, very high. Actually, I wanted to ask you guys when we began, can you please tell me in the comments right now, because we're live as well, can you tell me, what are the gas prices like where you live? Because you guys were sending in videos, pictures of your supermarkets. You were taking photos at the station, showing me how much you're paying. So please tell me, because, again, we have the data, but I actually want to hear from you. Joe Biden went there because he wants oil, right? He needs the Saudis to pump and produce more oil, because when you put more oil on the market, then the price goes down, and that would solve a lot of problems at home. Right now, there are the midterms coming up, right? This year, 2022, you have the midterm elections in the United States. And the way it's looking, I really don't know what's going to happen, but the way it's looking, the Democrats, they're going to lose that majority. One of the main issues that is going to drive people to vote against Democrats or not vote at all for them is, of course, gas prices. And be very attentive to this, because, you might be thinking, well, I don't drive a car, for example. How does it affect me? Oh, buddy, plenty, because the food you're eating, the clothes that you're buying, the places that you're going with public transport, whatever you're doing and consuming needs to be produced using oil. Right, at some point in the chain, so everything goes up. All the prices go up. Yes, this is what we see when you have sanctions on countries or blockades, particularly like in Yemen. And ironically, they say that Biden went to Saudi Arabia to discuss Yemen. Yeah, they they extended the truce. I'll get to that afterwards. So, did Biden succeed? Did Joe Biden, the superhero, corn pop superhero, did he succeed in his mission? He embarrassed himself with the fist bump. He didn't raise the issue of Jamal Khashoggi. What about the oil? At least that, maybe? Maybe it was worth it? No. So the White House put out a fact sheet, which, of course, it's the White House. Why would they lie? And they say here that there's new cooperation on energy security with the Saudis, right? Oh, look. The United States welcomes the increase in production levels 50% above what was planned for July and August. Yeah, they were going to do that anyway. We already talked about this a few months ago, that this was planned anyway, and they just moved it up 1 month. That's nothing. This is not enough. And they established some bilateral framework on clean energy. Nothing about oil. There's nothing about oil. And they lied on top of it. They lied. Okay? So the Americans, they pretended that they scored some kind of deal. It's not true. It's simply not true. As soon as Biden left, or he barely stayed 24 hours, this is what starts to happen, okay? You have the Saudis saying very clearly, we did not agree on anything with the Americans, and we're not going to produce more oil. End of story. And here they start giving these these justifications here. This is from a Business Insider. It said Saudi Arabia can't boost its oil production any further in the medium term, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said Friday at a summit attended by President Joe Biden. This is an interview with the Saudi Minister of Foreign Affairs with Bloomberg. Take a listen to what he has to say when she asks him this question.
President Biden also last night insisted that there will be more oil coming onto the market in the coming weeks. You, after the meeting, had said it matters about supply and demand. So was there no ironclad agreement that the kingdom would help the president in this issue of higher oil prices?
It's not about an agreement. It's about the kingdom's long-standing policy of working to ensure that there is adequate supply of crude oil on the markets. And we follow.
Look, it's over. He's not answering that question. He's BSing her, okay? He's feeding her words. Let me tell you, that goes on for about 3 minutes. There was nothing. There was nothing. I'll just play it anyway, just so you can enjoy him trying to...
follow the supply-demand situation very carefully, and we determined that if there is a potential shortage, that we work on increasing crude oil production by Saudi with our OPEC partners and OPEC Plus partners. We do this on a consistent basis. If you look at the past 9 months, we have been increasing production substantially. If you look at the steps we took a couple of months ago, we accelerated the planned production increases by several.
So Joe Biden, no deal. No deal, unfortunately. But Israel got a few things, right? So these two islands, you have U.S. troops that left them. It's a non-story. They're very important because of their geographic location on the Red Sea. So I shouldn't say non-story. But my main point here is that basically Joe Biden went to Saudi Arabia, for nothing. He wanted to get the Saudis to produce more oil, and he failed. They're not going to do it. This is a slap in the face, and it's a very hard pill to swallow. It's very hard to digest because the Saudis, who do you think they export oil to the most? It's not the United States. Who's buying up more of Saudi oil? The Chinese are. The Indians are. Right? And they're also buying from Russia, by the way. Okay? And dealing in different currencies and denominations. This is a new world that's being formed. Whether it's going to be good or bad, I really don't know, man. I really don't know. But this current system, you're seeing it fall apart. This is really something. And if you go and read all these magazines and news outlets, they'll try and rationalize why Saudi Arabia did that. They'll say, oh, well, Biden wasn't tough enough on Iran. He didn't drive enough bombs into Iran and destroy their nuclear program because, Iran is a threat to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, okay. Blah, blah, blah. Typical garbage they feed to university students. The less gung-ho version of that is, well, it's the Iran nuclear deal. No, it's not just the Iran nuclear deal. This is one thing. This is one thing. Another thing that they try to blame this on, they say that, well, it's the war in Yemen. A few months ago, the Americans pulled their surface-to-air missile defense system from Saudi Arabia, right? They withdrew it. And what does that mean? Well, you had Houthi drones and Houthi missiles, they say are backed by Iran, coming and blowing up Aramco during the Formula One competitions and making the Saudis look all messy and like they're not in control of the situation. Very embarrassing, right? Very, very, very embarrassing. The Saudis, they have less defense capabilities now, right? So this was what I was talking about just now. This is actually exactly almost a year ago, right? So June 2021. This is from Wall Street Journal. They said that the U.S. military is going to withdraw hundreds of troops, aircraft, anti-missile batteries from the Middle East. And of course, this left sort of a hole in the Saudis' defense. But that's it. And then, of course, if we look at the other thing with, the other dimension of this problem is the war in Ukraine. The Americans, they're just not backing down. The Russians are not backing down. The Saudis have to hedge their bets. They're looking at the situation and calculating what to do in this new world that's being forged. And a lot of countries are sitting back and doing that right now, calculating. The Americans, in the Saudis' point of view, they're just not providing enough security. They're not selling them enough weapons. They didn't do anything about Khashoggi, but that's not enough. At least Israel won, though. This was a very smart one. They're very... At least Israel got to benefit after all, right? That's what matters. So now they can use Saudi airspace. Wow. I mean... That's really an epic fail. That was really something. Look at this guy. What a bozo. That was the worst thing he could have done, and he got nothing out of it. He embarrassed himself, and the United States looks weak. And they got pushed around by Saudi Arabia and the US. I don't know how long this bromance is going to last. It's not looking good now anyway. It's not looking good.